Hello, and thanks for joining us at Newsnight. I'm Ladi Akeredoluwale. My guest on today's edition believes that Nigeria's youth are an untapped resource for the country and that the emphasis on negativity where they are concerned is not helping anyone. My guest also says the traditional institutions are essential to tackling the many challenges the nation faces, including insecurity. Newsnight talks to the Ooni of Ife, His Royal Majesty Enitan Adeyeye Ogunwusi Ojaja II. Your Majesty, thank you so much for your time. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You are a 21st century monarch. But monarchy itself is steeped in tradition and history. So, my first question will be, why would a successful businessman like yourself, dynamic with all the freedoms, think that becoming the Ooni was a good move?
Well, thank you very much. What is critical in life is destiny. Destiny can never ever be manipulated nor changed. For me, I am more philosophical on this very sensitive issue you just touched. Because being a monarch, being Ooni of Ife, completely turned my life around. Despite the fact that it has been foretold that there are so many strange things about me and around me, my growing up, I've always lived a very, very strange life. So for me, when I was in the private sector and growing up, I've always been a very restless child. But when destiny actually set in, my whole life was completely arrested. And I didn't have any choice to succumb to all the forces of nature and the ultimate conspiracy of the universe to bring me to the highly exalted throne, because it arrested the most critical thing in my life, service to humanity. There's no platform I can get greater than this to serve the entire humanity, most especially the oppressed, the downtrodden, and the forgotten in the society. So for me, it's the ultimate sacrifice. But the joy that I have every day is I am fulfilled. I live a fulfilled life now because for the rest of my life, I don't hold myself any longer, but to serve the entire mankind and also to contribute my own quota. So for me, it's more of a sacred calling. For me, it's beyond the paraphernalia of the office. For me, it's deeper than that. So far, so good. My Creator, the King of Kings, have been very supportive to me. Yeah, there will be challenges up and down, but for me, it's a complete turnaround for my life.
One of the very first things you did upon becoming Ooni was to visit many traditional rulers. In fact, I was present in Akure when you came to visit the Deji of Akure. And it was said then that it would be the first time the Ooni would come to that palace in recorded history. You went to see the Alaafin, and hundreds of years had passed when last such a meeting took place. What was the thinking behind that? You also went to see other people elsewhere, other traditional rulers, even across the country. Why did you think that was important right at the start?
Thank you very much. Before I became a king, I met some of them there. As a result of that, this is the root of all of us. There's no way you can tell your story in Yoruba land that you will say you didn't pass through Kingdom of Ife. You might say you didn't originate. So many people bring, but you will say you must have had a relationship with Kingdom of Ife. But the truth is, this is the cradle of civilization of mankind. It's been even proven scientifically. But beyond that, some children are greater than their fathers. Obviously, our current president is greater than his own father. His father was never a Nigerian president, but he is the current president of this country. So, it's important for you to know some very sacred things about your life, whatever position you are. Number one, put supremacy aside. In a very cosmopolitan environment, a Republican race, it's difficult to sell supremacy. Put it aside. It's not going to help the race because they are very highly opinionated people. Let everybody come together. Serve. Be a servant. Let your monarchy serve people. That's the essence of monarchy. So for me, I got to the throne at a very young age, in my 40s. I met some that are older than me in age. By virtue of that, I must respect them. Yorubas will say, Adeoba, mo de Adeoba, mo je oba, ṣùgbọ́n mi ò jẹ ọjọ́ orí. What it means, I have become a king, but I have not become an older person by virtue of my age that I was born in the world. But I've only become older person because I am sitting on the seat of our ancestors. There's a clear difference between respecting Ooni Adeyeye and respecting Ooni of Ife. Two different things. Ooni of Ife is clearly different from Ooni Adeyeye. So for me,
The person and the office.
absolutely, two different things. So for me, I deciphered this. And I said, for me, three things on this throne. To become a king, God has given me that, number one. Number two, to be old in age, God has not given me that yet. I need to tread cautiously. I need to respect the older ones that are in that position before me, or that will even come after me. That will be crowned after I've been crowned. The third one is for me to be very old on the throne. There's a clear difference between for you to be old in age as a person and for you to be old on the throne. So if I can get the three things, it's a blessing from my Almighty King of Kings. So I now checked round the ones that are kings, honor to them. The ones that are old in age, a greater honor to them. The ones that are old on the throne, the greatest honor for them. That actually made me to say, you know what? Actively for 10 months, I was on the road. I visited every corner, including outside this country. A lot of people don't know that looking at Ghana as a country, a portion of it is clearly Yoruba land, the Ga people. They are Yoruba people. They migrated directly from Ife. And the head of their kingship is Ga Manche. The whole of Accra is Yoruba land. I went as far as there, as far as Côte d'Ivoire, as far as Togo, as far as Benin Republic, and all what have you. Not to even talk of the Caribbean and Brazil. In fact, I've not even covered it. So for me, it's critical for us to unite as the single largest race in the world.
Let me bring you to more, shall I say, contemporary matters. I will still return to the theme of the monarchy and Yoruba land, which you mentioned. One of the things you mentioned in answer to one of my questions was the issue of the youth. And some would say it's natural that you would show an interest in that area. But I listened to an address you gave at a gathering in Abuja not too long ago. And you were very impassioned. I think you spoke that day for about 12, 15 minutes. But the whole hall was silent as your speech went on and on. But the nub was that you said every solution that had been brought about when people were talking about security, development, and so on, somehow, in your view, they left out the most important ingredient, the most important people who could take this. And I wondered, the people you're talking about themselves, that is the young, do they see themselves in that role? The way you saw yourself, as you just explained, even before you became Ooni, as a different person, as someone with imagination, as someone who had responsibility, who saw himself as destined for greater things. Do you see most of the youth who would probably, in the way you spoke, be part of the solution, being ready to do that, given all what we hear and what we know about them? What has been your own experience interacting with them?
It's a very deep thing, I just laughed. And a lot of people don't know the dexterity and the depth of Nigerian youth. They're going to wow you. They do things to the extreme. When they want to be bad, they will be bad to the extreme. When they want to be good, they will be good to the extreme. They are the engine room of the current millennium. You said I'm a 21st
century monarch.
Things have passed. We are running a digital economy in the world. They are fast. Their brain is fast. They do things pretty fast. If you don't catch up to them, you are going to be in trouble. So as they are fast, it can either go negative or positive. But people tend to look at them in that negative perspective. But you can turn negativity to positivity. That's what I like to tell leaders in this country. Like a good example, a small digression. They will go and arrest illegal people doing refinery, making equipment to refine crude oil. They will put them in jail, put them in DSS. How can a nation do that? Pick their brain, sit down. How are they doing this? And they are refining and it's moving some certain cars. Maybe it can eventually knock the engine. Maybe they didn't refine it well. But how have they been able to develop that local industry, local equipment? Then take it to another level. A typical example of what they did in China. Chinese people sent their brains out of China in the 50s for espionage. And they came back home. And they will bring everything down and rebuild it and put it as made in China. So for Nigerian youth, I'm always very passionate about it. I can go on and on about them. Some Nigerian youths today, you won't believe it, their dreams. They want to buy all those whole generation banks. Even banks that are like 30 years old. Not even talk of the 125 years, 130 years. Because the way I just asked them, why are you thinking this big? They said, look at it. It's a digital economy. We're going to keep all our database in the cloud. I looked at the sky. Where? In the cloud. They said, what are you talking about, Kabiyesi? The world has moved. The rate at which they are growing digitally is out of this world. I'll give you a typical example. You are saying they are not seeing themselves like that. Look at NSAS. I look at the positivity side of NSAS. Anytime I have opportunity, I'll tell our leaders, you are blaming these young people. It was hijacked from them. Initially, some of their sect had good intention. And I know them because I relate, it's their throne. I've dedicated this throne to the youth of this country. So I am open to the good and bad, and even the ugly out of Nigerian youth. They've been able to use digital means to settle problems. They will answer calls and ask you of their location, your location that you've been attacked. And they will go inside a particular software and they will nip your location. Your car that was destroyed, they will come and give you food at that location. And they will fix your broken windscreen. And they were distributing food with ease at the toll gate and their different spots. They were so organized. Every day, 11:45, they will upload their record. Every money they have spent for the whole world to see. And we have a system. You went to lock them up, lock their bank, put them under Interpol that you're looking for them. Instead of all of us to pick their brain and see how they're doing it. I'm happy now for federal government. Central Bank is saying we want to start to use digital naira.
Yeah, e-naira.
E-naira. But those people, NSAS, use e-naira, e-dollar, e-pound to settle problems. They were able to organize themselves so well. The positive side of NSAS. But they should set up a panel looking at the positive side of NSAS in this country. I haven't heard of it. It is just panel of inquiry to be talking about the negative side of NSAS.
Your Majesty, you were talking about, in that particular reference I was making, you were talking about them in security, and you said most of the security problems we face, if you examine who are the people behind it, it is this youth.
Absolutely. Are they ghosts? The security people. Are they not part of us? Don't they have wives and children? Are they ghosts falling from heaven? Don't they go to the market? Don't they go to bank to withdraw money and live a normal life? Do you know what they do in their underworld? They are not ghosts. So,
what do we do then? Because it was one of the things I was going to ask you. If you said you hadn't completed your tour. For people to do any kind of movement now, they have to be accompanied by top security, someone in your position, probably even more than most. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because there are so many different dimensions to the kind of things that can happen now. And one is wondering, so many people talk about so many things, but I mean, in your role, with this insight that you have given us, and with what you know, how do we go about solving that?
It's very simple. Youth inclusion, youth inclusiveness. Include them in everything you're doing. The leaders, from local government level, although they've broken that down completely, and that's the foundation, and that was why I spoke that day out of my passion that, look, we're getting it wrong. But that's another topic for another day. Because I've never heard of the speaker of any local government. I've never heard. But we only heard of speaker of a state. I've never heard of Senate. Because 3 tiers of government will always break down into 3 tiers too.
Yeah.
Local level should have 3 tiers of government. Have you heard of speaker of local government before? Or the Senate?
Like you, no.
But haven't you heard of speaker of the state?
And at the
national level. What is wrong with our constitution? Clearly stated all those things. So for me, the solution is include them. Include the bad, the good, and the ugly. The greatest nations in this world, the likes of the United States of America, we should read about those countries. Their leaders at some point were very bad leaders. involved in bootlegging, opium, and all terrible things. And they said, no, stop. And they wrote their constitution. They came up with the electoral college. You can fault that system till date. You can only fault it in a very minute way. They changed, they evolved over time. What have we evolved in Nigeria? Our constitution was written in 1999 by the military people. Are we still in military days? If your computer or your phone, if it works too hard, it will start to be hot. You must switch it off. You've been using your phone for long, so you have never switched off your phone. It's not possible. Your phone must be refreshed. So let's be truthful in this country.
So you agree with those who say that we should tinker with or change the constitution?
How can, for 21 years we've been using something, and you're talking of the 21st century life now? In 21 years, when we were still using mainframe computers, inside constitution, nothing like cyber world there. Nothing like anything electronic. Because there was nothing like that then. Nothing like your smartphones to do some certain things in this country. That's the typical NSAS children. You call them kids. It's okay, they're children. Okay, no problem. They are not, they can't do anything. It's okay. But how did they organize themselves like that? Who is thinking the positive side of NSAS? We are making mistakes in this country. We need to include them and pick those brains. Look, our current leaders, they were pioneers at some point in their early 30s. They're still alive. President Obasanjo is still alive. Very close to him. They will tell you the story of Biafra War. General Gowon is still alive. I'm close to him, to the glory of God. They will tell you the story. When he was a president at 29 years old.
There were also some missed opportunities there, Your Majesty, because this one you said about not looking at the positive side. The Biafran side during the Civil War that General Gowon presided over manufactured a lot of things in their defense. But once the war was over, all those things fell away.
We're saying the same thing. The people actively to continue to hoil these things are the vibrant in the society, and they are the youth of this country. They were youths then, and they were pioneers. These guys that we are calling Nigerian youth, they are about to pioneer anything now. Anything you pioneer, you will take leadership. We are all seated on a keg of gunpowder. And that's the truth. Because whenever you pioneer, okay, look at it. We were ready in Nigeria. There was nothing like Nigeria in the 50s. It was just a name that they were trading with. A lot of companies emerged out of that name. So in the 50s, early 50s, late 40s, some group said enough. We don't want colonization again. Were they not pioneers? They were pioneers. And they started putting structures in place till early 50s. The southern part of the country was ready. The northern part wasn't ready. We kept pushing it, all the way till 1960. Eventually we were ready. Very beautiful, fine brains, even from the north. Have you heard Amadou Bello's speech before? Very refined northerner, super refined. Have you heard Tafawa Balewa speak extempo, super brains? And they all emerged. They were all pioneers. How old were all of them then? They're not even up to 60 then. But they pioneered something for us as a nation today. Please watch it. These youths, they will soon pioneer something for themselves.
You mentioned the Constitution, Your Majesty. In the past, before, I mean, during the period you were talking about, or even before that, traditional rulers, one of your predecessors in office was the governor of the Western region. But even beyond that, you had even institutions like the Western House of Chiefs and so on. Basically, a role for the traditional institution in the governance process, even in security and all of that. But we dropped that. Do you think we should return to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But do you think the traditional rulers of now are prepared to do what your forebears were doing back then?
Let me tell you something that you don't know. The best basket in this country, the basket of traditional rulers. We have former Supreme Court judges there. We have generals there. We have renowned accountants there. We have business moguls there. We have ex-custom boss there. We have permanent secretaries to the highest ranking level there. We have professionals there. We have doctors there. We have lawyers there. We have sons there that are traditional rulers. Look at that basket. Tell me one place you will get that. You can't get that in the midst of politicians. It's not possible. Because some politicians didn't go to school at all. They didn't go to school. And they rose to any level. Because our constitution says school certs. Some places, primary school living certificate.
But we could argue that the traditional rulers too were like that before. Not every traditional ruler was like you, or is like you.
That's what I'm saying. We have some. That's why I'm saying the best baskets. We have the high and low in terms of intellectual capacity. Where else can you get it in this country? In any class of leadership or followership. You can't get it. It is only in the midst of traditional rulers. So therefore, there is an asset hidden there. A very powerful treasure. Because we see the bad, we see the good, and we see the ugly. I say it all the time.
But part of the problem with that is that some of your contemporaries or some of your colleague monarchs have also played politics, which then made people to have the perception that they will always take sides.
It's unfortunate, yes, you're right, but my grandfather, Ooni Adisojaduremi, he was the first monarch in the history of the black people that became the governor general of the
Western
region
of Nigeria.
Absolutely, he got there by virtue of politics, but they were pioneer politicians. Unfortunately, the politics went down south, and he almost got dethroned, he almost got kicked out. So traditional rulers should be very neutral, naturally, because they should come and converge. It's the best approach. But it is the politicians that will force them, we traditional rulers, to play politics. Because you know why? We are the one taking care of our people every day. Palaces, I have never seen any palace that is locked. Everywhere must be opened. You can't lock a palace. How? Anytime there is problem in any community, the safest haven is to run to any palace. So every community, district heads, the Igwes, they guard and guide their palaces very well. It's a natural thing. So every day people run to you, they run to you. Obviously you will become relevant. Why do you have all the politicians? They pay courtesy call to palaces.
I was waiting for you to come to that.
Why? They don't need to go to palaces. Why do they go? Why? Let them stop going. Let them stop going and go and test their popularity.
But they need royal endorsement.
That's what I'm saying. Because you know why? We take care of our people every day. But they only come once in 4 years. Immediately they finish like this, they just go. It's Abuja. Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt. They leave us in those bushes, in those suburb areas, and we'll wait for them till the next 4 years.
One of the things, Your Majesty, that we have continually had to deal with is the fact that people link our security challenges to economic problems and link those economic problems to political problems. If you don't tackle the economic challenges, a lot of people will be forced to do illegal things because they have to survive. And if you don't tackle the political challenges, then you don't get the right policy to deal with the economic challenges. Coming from both what you were and what you are now, if you take a look at it holistically, in such a situation, what do we do?
How do you mean by what do we do?
Which one do we go after first? Is it the political problems, the economic problems, or the result from both the economic and the political problems?
Well, what is fundamental and will forever be fundamental anywhere? Security challenge is a bedrock of any nation building and nation development. But in Nigeria, we are very sensitive a nation. We do things based on emotions and sensitivity. We don't deal based on merit. It's unfortunate as a nation. Hey, it's the turn of the South. Hey, it's the turn of the North. Hey, we have to rotate. Why not think of merit? These are our issues. And these are things that gather up to become a security challenge. Because in the process of, hey, it's our turn, you will go and align with some very bad people. People of the underworld. You will empower them. To use them as a bait. In the process of empowering them, you will now get what you want. Who told you that they won't come after you? They will definitely come after you. So it's a sensitive nation that we act on sensitivity. And the earlier we realize, the better for us as a nation. We can't continue based on sensitivities. We have to do things on merit for the betterment of this nation. That is very fundamental. And that is hinged on security challenges. If we don't solve that problem, we cannot solve the problem of economy. We cannot solve the problem of our political issues. So, in the process of having security challenges, we have turned to be a baby-making factory nation. A nation growing at the rate of 6 to 8% per annum.
In terms of population?
In terms of population. That's the truth. As a country, every month, we know how many babies. You attend weddings, everybody's children wants to get, everybody. We Yorubas, we are Owambe experts. And they will keep pushing their children. And that's even a very high-class environment. The downtrodden, they still carry on. They live their lives. And we keep expanding. And we are growing at 0.3, 0.4, 0.5% as a nation. It's not hard enough. So we'll continue to have that security challenge. But to the glory of God, in the last 6 years I've been watching this government. I'm praying for them, for things to turn around. It's unfortunate how they found themselves. But this time around, but people don't know that the economy has grown the last quarter about almost 6%. It's never happened in the last 6 years. It's a credit for us to celebrate in this country. It is a huge one. We've been growing less than 1% before. But now, a particular quarter, we are almost at 6%. So we should keep encouraging for things to get better. If things get better, you know, in a particular place, if you put a dog to rule, a dog will rule. You know why? The system is entrenched.
So there's a limit.
So you can't a dog cannot come and mess up the system. So we let us entrench our system, our institutions. Once they are very entrenched, leadership, you know, some will call it devolution of powers, some will call it restructuring, whatever name you want to call it. But it is important we need to sit down and talk.
You and some of the other monarchs in your position are, shall I say, it would appear torn. If we take you as a Yoruba monarch, there are people who say that we should go our separate ways and do Dudua Republic. The same thing is happening in the East, parts of the North as well. But as traditional rulers to whom these people relate directly, how difficult has it been for you to maneuver your way through without appearing to support or oppose?
Yeah, that's the position of the leadership we find ourselves. But the truth be told, people are just frustrated. People are frustrated. People are very frustrated. And that's why you're seeing agitation left, right, and center. I just told you, the economy that is growing at less than 1%, that's so fractional a growth. It's as if nothing is happening. So it's frustration. If things are in place properly, if institutions are properly entrenched, we're not going to be having such agitation at all. But for me, it's rather a sensitive matter because I blame the people that are agitating because they are youth. Because they are very afraid of the future. What does the future hold for them? The system have not even supported any of their dreams before. Nobody even care about them other than their parents. Some of them, they even lack parental values and background and support. So they will expect the system to support them. So for me, it's a very tight position. But what is key for me is whoever that is agitating, let our leaders talk to them. Why are you doing this? Let us cultivate a listening here. It's important. And for me, it's very, very sensitive. It's not an ideal thing. If a country is big, the better for everybody. It's called economies of scale, comparative advantages. We can trade that amongst ourselves. We will be better off. What's the beauty of Nigeria now? The most populous black nation. Every 5 black person in the world, one must be a Nigerian. It's a standard. If they put 5 blacks in somewhere, one has to be a Nigerian. So a president once said a continent of Nigeria. Publicly.
Indeed.
So if, God forbid, if such should happen, so we will be talking about continent of Nigeria again. So the strength of us together is better, but when agitation like this are coming up, listen to them. Why are they agitating?
One of the things I've seen, though, and I think I remarked on it to some of my colleagues that I came with, was that, and that brings me to maybe another reason why it seemed as if nothing was happening. The whole of 2020 was the year of COVID-19. Everything more or less ground to a halt worldwide. In Nigeria, we had the consistent battle between obeying the protocols and surviving for most people. And more or less, that is still the situation as we find ourselves, because it's second wave, it's third wave, it's fourth wave, depending on where you are. I recollect that you, at a point, took the initiative of giving motorized vehicles, mobile vehicles that could be used for fumigation, sanitization, and so on across the country, different parts of the country. I know that was not your only intervention, but we are still having COVID. And what I've noticed is that people seem to have gotten tired, and they've said, well, life must go on. Apart from here in the palace, in Ife town, I haven't seen a single person with a face mask. I'm wondering, again, is that another place where you are torn between the welfare of the subjects and their health?
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, as a traditional ruler and a royal father, I will go a bit spiritual here, because to me, what you don't know the cause still becomes a mystery. Till date, COVID-19 is still a mystery. So spirituality is very synonymous to mysterious things. So we'll keep praying for a nation. I do that very deeply. We do a lot of consecration, a lot of meditation spiritually, because I'm the spiritual head of the Yoruba people. The spirituality of our race still resides in Ife. That's the bedrock of our race. And everything we need to do spiritually, we do it. Why am I saying all this? We have been very fortunate as a nation. We have been. I have to tell you the truth. For some reason, it hasn't gone haywire. And I will even thank this government. Their response has been fantastic. Look at Lagos State. The governor is always on his toes. Look at PTF in Abuja. The minister came here today, Minister of Health. I just had to thank him that, I look at you. You stand for 4 or 5 hours on TV when you are giving report, SGF, the president of a country, in that area. In fact, the Western world said, forget Africa, forget Nigeria. We can't even survive it. The whole country will just be in chaos. So far, so good. God has actually, something, conspiracy in the supernatural world, conspiracy in the universe has been to our favor.
I want to bring you back home, as it were, now, and talk about the fact that, or ask your view, because I noticed I was present at an event you attended where a young man put together a book about proverbs, Yoruba proverbs. It's a form of awareness, education. And you came all the way from here to Akure then to attend that event, even though it was very difficult for you to get away and all that, but you insisted you were going to come. Many of the children that we have now, including some of the youth that you talked about earlier, can't speak indigenous languages. They speak English because it is what their parents speak to them at home first, and then when they go to school it is reinforced, and all the people they meet are speaking English. So, for instance, Yoruba is spoken by less and less number of people in terms of being fluent, and then there are, in fact, lesser people who are writing it now. Are you worried about that, or do you think it's also part of the movement that we are going through worldwide, and it isn't really that much of a challenge?
I'm very worried about it, and we're doing a lot of work on this front as far as it's concerned. We have set up different institutions, and we have one slogan, So Ede Yoruba Si Omore. We launched it in the US, in the United Kingdom. It's now very popular all over the world. We printed about 3 million copies of sticker. We're able to consume that. Then the university here around us, in Ife, we're very lucky. is 45 square kilometer radius. We have about 25 universities. The pioneer one is around us is Ife. So we are encouraging town-gown relationship, especially blending culture and education. By virtue of that, history taken away from our curriculum, there's a way we're trying to bring it back. There's a way we're trying to, if we keep complaining that things are bad, people are not speaking Yoruba to their children, we are encouraging parents, we're encouraging even children, the beauty of it. I have a lot of professors and doctors of Yoruba background and a lot of children that we give scholarship to just to go and learn. We're building Akomolede in Ife now. And what we want to do is build it all over the Yoruba-speaking states, all the way to Niger State, because we still have a portion in Niger State that they are speaking Yoruba. They still wear beaded crown in Niger State. Around Bida, Lokoja axis, they speak Yoruba. So what we want to do is to spread that tentacle and have different vocational schools that during holiday you can come. And that's why I encourage that young man. And that's why I came for what he did. And I will go over and over again because I'm very passionate about things like that. So for us, yes, I'm worried. We're having issues.
I want to ask you to confirm or dispel some myths, which you probably have heard yourself. When people in my generation were growing up, there were a number of things that they said about the Ooni. One of the most scary, in fact, my producer was reminding me when we were coming, was that the first thing that the Ooni sees when he opens his eyes in the morning, the first living thing he sees has to die. Is it true?
Oh, there. Well, it's a very sacred throne. All those mystical powers that you heard about is real. We look at it in a constructive manner, not destructive manner. So therefore, whether Ooni, the first person Ooni sees, maybe if Ooni sees his wife, he will now say he should go and kill his wife, his Olori, or he's go and kill his children. So those mystical things, people must have tweaked it in some very sinister mood. But it is real, it is preserved on this throne, and we want it for the betterment of the entire mankind.
Your Majesty, long may you reign.
Amen.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Newsnight today. Thanks for watching. Would like to hear from you on the conversation. Our social media handles are on your screen. You can also listen to this and previous episodes of the program via our podcast. Please visit our website at channelstv.com/podcast. I am Ladi Akeredoluale. Goodbye.